Hello students, I am Dr. Swati Dhawan and today I am going to take you through the basic model of a financial system. So let's begin by looking at the two types of units that shall constitute any financial system's basic model. So here we have surplus spending units on the left hand side and then we have the deficit spending units on the right hand side. So looking at surplus spending units, these basically refer to people who have funds, also known as savers or investors and more commonly called households. Now talking about deficit spending units, this would constitute of people who need funds, that is borrowers or more commonly called the corporates. Now, here one needs to be really careful that at any given point of time, an individual or an institution can be on the either side. Say a typical college student would be a deficit spending unit when he borrows money to finance his education. Now, a few years later, when the same student gets the job, he becomes a surplus spending unit. He now would have more money than what he would probably need for consumption, and thus he would be wanting to save and invest the balance amount. Now, as we zoom in, a lot of stuff will start to appear in the middle, like financial intermediaries such as banks, financial institutions, stockbrokers, sub-brokers, stock exchange, investment banks, etc. And then we would have regulators, credit rating agencies, merchant bankers and various other financial service providers. So let's start by looking at financial intermediaries. So when we're talking about financial intermediaries, the basic reason for their existence is to act as a liaison between suppliers of funds and the users of funds. Imagine the difficulty a company would face if there are no banks where it can go and borrow. Or imagine the difficulty a person who wants to invest in shares will face if there is no stock exchange or a broker network through which he can trade. Okay, so looking further, we would also see that the investors shall always be very concerned about their investment being adequately protected. So to earn their confidence, not just in the institutions but also in the entire system, regulators would play a key role. And then there would be a host of other service providers like merchant bankers, credit rating agencies, each of which would help facilitate the transactions between suppliers and users of funds in an effective and transparent manner. So if we look at the entire model of a financial system, we can see that on one side there would be surplus spending units, also known as savers, who would be thinking of where to invest the money, which financial instrument to choose, and then they would be doing the analysis in light of their risk appetite and return expectations. And on the other side would be the deficit spending units or the borrowers or corporates who would be wanting to raise funds, and they would be looking at which type of financial security to issue to collect funds from public, and what return would the investors be expecting on providing capital to the corporate, and what part of profits to retain for future investments, etc. And then in the middle would be different financial institutions, different financial products or instruments or securities, and a range of financial services, regulators, etc. So this is how we can be looking at the basic model or the components of a basic model of a financial system. So if we were to study a basic financial system, we can then say that on the left hand side, which is basically talking about surplus spending units, the left hand side is going to be all about investment management. So here is where the investors would be analyzing, selecting and reviewing the different types of financial instruments in terms of risk return characteristics, etc. And the right hand side, that's the deficit spending units, would be all about corporate finance. So here would be the corporates who would be thinking about where to invest and how to raise finance, and then also how to keep the investors satisfied. And in the middle would be various financial markets and institutions together with different financial products, instruments, service providers, etc. So this is how we study the basic model of a financial system. Thank you.